Jennifer Welch, who's the host of the I've Had It podcast, had a special guest on her program, Senator Cory Booker, a Democratic senator. And she asked him an important question about, well, foreign policy, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, and more. Let's hear what he had to say.
Do you think he's a war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu? Do you think he's a war criminal?
Again, these are questions that a lot of people think are the important litmus tests that are loaded and hot. My urgency is to be an effective leader in bringing an end to this crisis. And I get these questions all the time that, to me, undermine my urgency.
I think the thing that Democrats get so frustrated with, where we are right now, where you see like the Zoran Mamdanis and the Graham Plattners rise up, because they can go on podcasts and you can say, do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? And they just say, yes. And that's the end of it. It's not all of the rhetoric answering. It's like what happens to Democratic politicians, they go through this like prism, and then we can't ever get like the answer to yes or no conversations like you do with Bernie and others. And that's the frustration for the Democratic base with leadership. Do I think Netanyahu is worse than Trump?
Yes.
Do I think Netanyahu is worse than Trump? Yes, that wasn't the question. The question was, do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? And as you can see, Cenk, he avoided answering that question. And I can get into the reasons why this Democratic senator avoided answering that question, even though there's an abundance of evidence indicating that he broke international laws and engaged in war crimes and is in fact wanted by the International Criminal Court due to the war crimes he has committed. But what did you make of what Cory Booker had to say? Maybe we're misunderstanding him. Maybe we're not giving him credit for his urgency in pursuing peace in the Middle East. What do you think?
Yeah, so Cory Booker and I will be the exact opposite, because Cory Booker loves word salad. Did you see that in the beginning there? Yes. You know, because of the urgency of the question, that's why I need to not answer it and do the urgency of leadership. And what are you talking about? And what urgency of leadership are you doing other than hiding behind people while taking a picture with Netanyahu? He literally did that. And hiding his record, hiding his real beliefs. He doesn't have any real beliefs. Okay, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to be blunt. So Cory Booker is corrupt and works for Israel. That is super obvious, and we're gonna prove it to you. We're gonna show you, receipts for how much money he's taken from AIPAC, etc. But look, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it is the same answer every time. Mainstream media will not show you that clip. They will not criticize Cory Booker for that at all. They will try to hide that clip from you. They'll try to make sure that you don't find out how much money Cory Booker has gotten from the Israeli lobby, and that you never connect his votes and his lack of urgency, if you will, to borrow a phrase from Cory Booker about this issue, with the fact that he's being legally bribed by the Israeli lobby. That's what's happening. He's a crook, and almost all of mainstream media is a crook, and they all work for Israel. So, but go ahead, Anna.
Well, look, I think you're right in regard to how the American corporate media covers this very topic, how they really avoid weighing in on the corrupting factors in our federal government. And so you're right about that. But one thing that I will just point to is the fact that there has been this long-standing illusion of real disagreement among the two political parties on everything. And the fact of the matter is there are disagreements among the two political parties. I think immigration policy is probably the most substantive area in which there is disagreement between the two parties. But putting that aside, when it comes to questions of foreign policy, I don't think it's really rare to find Democratic lawmakers who are just as hawkish as Republican lawmakers. And that's, in my opinion, not due to, their values or their deep-seated principles. I think it has far more to do with the fact that we have legalized bribery in this country, the very thing that you get angry about and talk about on the show on a regular basis. And I want to give ordinary rank and file Americans, regardless of where they stand in the political spectrum, a lot of credit, because the transition away or the moving away from corporate media, from legacy media, also was not an accident. The fact that you have cable news dying, the fact that you have traditional network news like CBS dying, is because Americans don't trust those institutions anymore, because they've been discovered to not tell you the full story, or essentially stick to a specific narrative that suits the interests of the elite and the powerful. And so just to give you guys a little more background information, AIPAC Tracker says that Cory Booker has received close to $900,000, $871,563 from the Israel lobby, to be exact. And if you guys can remember, 6 years ago, back in 2019, March of 2019, The Intercept had reported on a leaked recording in which Cory Booker said that he and the AIPAC president text message back and forth like teenagers. You must be so proud. Now, with that in mind, luckily Welch asked Booker about the money he has taken from AIPAC. I actually haven't seen this video yet, and I'm super jazzed that we have it. So let's see how he answered that question.
I have disagreements with a lot of people. Look, I'm one of a handful of people that don't take corporate PAC money. I don't understand my Democratic.
What about AIPAC money? You take AIPAC money, don't you?
A minuscule percentage of my resources come from.
I read it's like 800,000.
Yeah, but that's a lifetime number of raising tens of millions of dollars. Let me give you the right stat. The majority of my money comes from small dollar contributions. My last report, I think 76% of it came from people that gave $25 or less. So this to me is about, again, we could pick at each other, or we could do what we need to be doing right now.
You think we don't know that dirty deeds are done dirt cheap, Cory Booker? And I'm sorry, but close to $1 million, $900,000, that's not a small amount of money. The fact that he's trying to convince the American people that taking close to $1 million in bribe money really has no impact on where you stand politically is laughable to me. And when you couple that with the fact that he was caught in a leaked recording, bragging about how he texts with the president of AIPAC like a teenager, the guy knows where his bread is buttered. I don't know what he actually believes about what's happening in the Middle East. I don't know if personally, he thinks that what Netanyahu is doing is wrong, or what's been happening to the Palestinian people for many, many decades is wrong. We don't know who Cory Booker really is, because he's paid to be what you're seeing on your screen today.
Yeah, so it's much, much worse than that, Anna, because there's so many different layers to the Israeli lobby money. So there's the money they give you directly, which in this case is $871,000, which he minimizes like it's no big deal. Come on, like, oh yeah, a politician's not affected by $871,000. Get out of here. But that's actually the tip of the iceberg. If you remember the story we covered about a week ago, Larry Ellison met with Marco Rubio back in 2016 when he was running for president. And he had to pass the test of, will he kiss Israel's ass enough? And then Ellison reported back to the Israeli ambassador, he has passed the test. He will basically do whatever we command him to do about Israel. And then a super PAC supporting Marco Rubio got $5 million. So if you look at the AIPAC tracker, for example, it says $1 million, a little over $1 million for Marco Rubio. But that doesn't count just the $5 million that Larry Ellison gave him in a super PAC, let alone all of the other money in super PACs, let alone all the dark money that no one can track, okay? But also on top of that, Anna, there's the money that AIPAC spends against you. So first they started spending $4 million against Andy Levin in Michigan, and then Nina Turner in Ohio. Then they started ratcheting it up. And against Jamal Bowman, they spent $20 million to defeat Jamal Bowman. So now Cory Booker is a classic cheesy politician. He knows all that. And he makes it sound like, it says $870,000. I mean, I raised so much corrupt money, tens of millions of dollars throughout my life, and I served those guys way more than I serve Israel, but come on, let's ignore it. Get out of here, man. No one believes you. You're a dog for Israel, a total and utter dog for them. So, and to be fair to Cory Booker, though, they all are, almost all of them, not Bernie, not some others, not Ro Khanna, but certainly the great majority of the Democratic senators loyally serve Israel, not America. Obviously, almost all of the Republican senators do. Not almost, all of them do. There are a couple of congressmen like Tom Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene that don't. They're free and they represent Americans. Agree and disagree on different issues, but at least they're free, okay? So, but there's one other element, Anna, that Cory Booker's perfectly aware of. That if you criticize Israel even 1%, mainstream media will rip your face off. They'll start, the Israeli thugs, pro-Israeli thugs here in America will claim that he's anti-Semitic, and then they'll go on this giant campaign. Oh, Cory Booker, anti-Semite, pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist, Cory Booker, terrible, terrible, bigot, hateful. And then mainstream media will pile on story after story on cable news. Is Cory Booker the worst anti-Semite since Goebbels? Right? And they'll do all of that, and he knows that. He's like, well, I don't want to get buried by mainstream media. I don't want to get buried by AIPAC at a $20 million avalanche against me. And I like the bribes they're giving me. Yeah, they're legalized, but there are still bribes. And I'm not telling you about the ones I'm getting from the super PACs and the dark money. So Cory, look, here's what you're not getting. We caught all of you. So all of your BS doesn't work at all. So go take that BS to MSNBC, where they'll probably fillet you over it. Oh, you're so sophisticated, right? None of us find you sophisticated. You're just another crook.
Yeah, I agree with you. And look, I totally agree in regard to what motivates Cory Booker. It's not just the direct money he receives from the Israel lobby, but it's also, honestly, it's the fact that when she talks about the popularity of Zoran Mamdani, as we all know, Zoran Mamdani has been attacked by the mainstream media, specifically because of his views on Israel. Now, I wish they spent more time analyzing some of the policy proposals he has, because I think that's way more important than what he views in terms of the best possible foreign policy in the Middle East. He's going to be the mayor of New York City. He's not going to have any jurisdiction over foreign policy. But again, I think that his popularity also has to do with the fact that the media, the corporate media, which the American public in general really doesn't trust, continues to attack him. It only has helped Mamdani. But these like dinosaurs of the political establishment don't understand it, and they think that everything is operating as business as usual. Cory Booker is so utterly detached from ordinary Americans that he doesn't really understand how fed up people are with the fact that, well, Congress pretty much does nothing for ordinary people these days. And then on top of that, you have a government shutdown. They're still collecting our taxes. They're still collecting a paycheck, by the way. And when it comes to funding for foreign wars, well, there's no debate about that. That passes easily. Yeah, Americans are sick of it, left and right. And so we'll see how this plays for Cory Booker moving forward. But I think he's wrong in thinking that things are operating the way they previously did. If he's afraid of the media, the corporate media attacking him, well, he's got a bad head on his shoulders. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, look, last two things. He says, well, instead of spending our time picking at each other, this is what corporate Democrats always do. Shut up and obey us. We're gonna give all of your money to Israel. Oh, you're criticizing us because they're in the middle of a genocide, and the guy I'm supporting and love and cherish and have supported throughout my career is a war criminal, and I won't say it? Well, we're just picking at each other. But brother, you're not on our side. What do you mean each other? We don't want to fund a genocide. You do want to fund a genocide. We want you to work for America. You want to work for Israel. By the way, you also want to work for all your other donors. Have you torn the place apart, demanding that we negotiate drug prices at Medicare? You might have done some BS theatrics about it. You might have spoken out and done a filibuster literally on nothing. That stuff is going to work for 78-year-olds that watch CNN and MSNBC. The rest of us know that your filibuster was literally over nothing, and that you're not doing anything to negotiate drug prices. You didn't do it when the Democrats were in charge. You didn't insist on it. You didn't insist on the minimum wage when Biden was in charge. You didn't insist on anything that is our priorities. You don't work for us. You're not on the Democratic side. You're on the side of the donor class. And we're not on the side of the donor class. So look, and that leads to the last point, which is what Anna was saying. These guys in Washington, they still don't get it because everyone they know is also corrupt. So they go to their parties and they go on TV and they go to all these things and they're like, and they play ass slap football with each other. Israel's great, isn't it? Oh, my donors are great. We're still lying to everyone, right? We're not gonna get caught. Dude, we know you're actors. You're all caught. The minute he goes online and does an interview, they ask him the simplest question, is Netanyahu a war criminal? 98% of the planet thinks he is. The other 2% live in Washington. It's actually a super easy question. He's like, well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, go try that stuff on Scarborough, okay? That stuff doesn't fly here. So just another typical greasy politician. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.